Welcome, foolish mortals.
Row 18, plot 20.
Mother, what have you done? Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Professor Jim. Once again, we are going to dive into the multiverse. Sorry for the glare, but I'm going to be reading off my computer screen for this dive into the multiverse of Norman Bates. I have done some extensive homework, research, and I've narrowed down the Norman Bates universe's variants to 8, which is probably more than most of you watching might have thought about Norman Bates having. But this is the multiverse.
What's a multiverse?
Hold on. See, someone do this one. All right, so imagine there are multiple versions of Earth. One where the Nazis won World War II, one where Kennedy was never assassinated.
Oh yeah, one where all of us are evil.
Been there, it sucks.
So with the Psycho series of movies, Norman Bates is the main character and mother, of course. So because of that, I have a couple inclusions that many of you may not agree with, and I would love to hear your comments down below. So the first universe is actually the novels, the 3 books that are the written works of author Robert Bloch. And the first Psycho book was written in 1959, and it's loosely based on the serial killer cannibal Ed Gein, because Robert Bloch lived only 40 miles away from Ed Gein's farmhouse. And so that is where the loose idea of his first novel came from. Psycho 2 is the next book in the novels, the next in the series, and that was written in 1982. And this movie, I'm so sorry, this book was a satirical look at the slasher genre, where it has Norman Bates escaping the mental institution and going to Hollywood to stop the production of the film of his life. And then the third novel was written in 1990, and that's called Psycho House. And this one was written, it was originally going to be called Psycho 13, and it's set 10 years after Norman Bates' death. The Bates mansion and motel are both bought as tourist attractions before a series of mysterious murders begin to take place. So the novels, in my opinion, are different enough from the movies that they should be their own Norman variant universe. And that's why I did that. Okay, so universe number 2 is the Hitchcock verse, and this is Psycho from 1960, and that stars Marion Crane, Janet Leigh, and Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. Those are the 2 main characters, and everyone knows the story is about Marion Crane stealing $40,000 from her employer to help her boyfriend get out of debt, and we all know the story from there. Mother does her thing, and very iconic ending with Norman sitting in the jail cell, and you can hear Mother's voice, and then I Won't Even Hurt a Fly. Very iconic. It gets an 8.5 star rating on IMDb, actually, and I think that's well deserved. Psycho is a true classic, and that's why it's in its own standalone universe. Okay, so that is, now we are on to Universe 3, which is Psycho 2 from 1983 and Psycho 3 from 1986. And these are their own universe because they take place 22 years after the original movie. Norman is released. and he begins working at a diner where he meets a kindly old lady named Emma Spool, played by Claudia Breyer. And then, Norman thinks he's seeing her mother again. It's not a bad movie at all. The only thing is that at the end, and this is a spoiler alert, the twist is that the Emma Spool, did I say that right? Yeah, Emma Spool tells Norman that she is his actual biological mother, and that Norma Bates adopted him because Emma, his real biological mother, was institutionalized and couldn't care for Norman. So Norman actually has a kill with a shovel. It's an iconic scene. And so because of the twist of the different biological mothers, I put 2 and 3 in their own movies. And Psycho 3, it's a young nun story, and it's okay. She comes and stays at the motel, but the main thread is that Norma isn't his mother, and that's why it's its own universe. Okay, universe number 4 is the R.I.P. verse. R.I.P. verse. So this is based on the Bates Motel TV movie in 1987. And I'm going to link that because I actually have it in a secret stash playlist on my channel, so you can actually watch this. It's otherwise known as Psycho 5, but it is titled Bates Motel, and it stars Bud Cort and Lori Petty, and even Robert Picardo. And Norman makes a brief appearance. It's so brief that I'm going to also include it in this right after I tell you that he was played by Kurt Paul.
Today, here, just moments ago, on this overcast fall afternoon in this sleepy agrarian town that sits alongside the interstate, Norman Bates was brought to justice. And so ends the most terrible and bizarre chapter in the history of this picture book town. And that of a young man whose poor mind, twisted and bent out of shape like a pretzel, tortured by self-loathing and guilt, plunged headlong into a world of dementia and darkness. There he is. Yes, folks, there he is. The infamous Norman Bates. Murderer, victim, you decide. Being led by his captors into a long, sleek, black sedan that signals the end of one journey for Norman and the beginning of another.
And that is the only amount of time, other than like some flashback photos and things like that, from Bud Cort. If you haven't seen this movie, Norman also passed away in this movie and leaves the Bates Motel to Alex, played by Bud Cort, who he took under his wing in the when they were inmates together, and became a pseudo father figure to him, and then left him the motel, and then Bates Motel stuff starts to happen. All right, Universe 5 is Psycho 4, The Beginning. This is a prequel, sort of. This was also a TV movie. I'm calling this the Babyverse, and I'll explain why in just a second. I know that's kind of a silly name. But Anthony Perkins reprises his role. This was 1990. It gets a 5.4 star rating. I think that's high. I did not like this movie myself. Norman is played by Anthony Perkins as the elder Norman, and then there's Henry Thomas, who plays a young Norman. Olivia Hussey is Norma, and CCH Pounder plays Fran Ambrosia, who's a radio host. And the premise of this movie is that Norman is concerned and calls this talk radio show. He's concerned that his wife, who's pregnant, that the child may develop the urge to kill as Norman did. And so this is such a bizarre concept to me, the fact that he one was married and then is having a kid. So this is not the Norman that I grew up loving, and so it's such a departure for me from the original Norman and any of the stories that I just counted this as its own universe, and that's Universe 5, the Babyverse. Alright, so Universe 6 is the Vaughnverse, and so this movie came out in 1998. It's like a word-for-word remake of the original, shot for shot. There's very few subtle differences from the original movie. This was directed by Gus Van Sant, and Vince Vaughn and Anne Heche played the two leading roles. Marion Anne Heche and Vince Vaughn played Norman, and this was a score done by Danny Elfman, so he's got a little bit of everything. This had a $60 million budget. This movie tanked. Worldwide, it barely made $37 million, so it was a huge flop. I forgot to mention William H. Macy was in this film, and the only real difference in this movie could be said that Marion steals $400,000 from her employer instead of $40,000 in the original. I actually like this movie. It didn't bother me. I was excited for it when it came out. I remember going to the theater and seeing it. I have a promotional movie poster on my wall right now. It's a translucent poster that is, you know, the shower scene sort of, and it got a 4.6 star rating on IMDb, but I like it. There's people that hate it and don't want to include it into the Psychoverse at all. The movie just didn't do it for them. Some think it was too much of a shot-for-shot remake and that they would have rather seen more original things. Alright, so the 7th universe. I know, 8 universes for Norman Bates, but you'll have to just stick with me. So 7 is the prequel verse, and this is based on the very popular A&E channel Bates Motel TV series, which ran from 2013 to 2017. Vera Farmiga played Norma. You know her from a lot of other horror franchises. Freddie Highmore, who played Norman, and he went on, I think he's still currently playing the Good Doctor or whatever. This had a 50 episode run. It gets a big 8.2 star rating on IMDb. I think that is deserved for the first season and a half. I did get a little tired of the show as it went on. I don't know if it was a case of that they didn't expect it to go for as many for the 3 seasons that it did. It might have had like that Twin Peaks thing where it was meant to be like a one and done kind of season, which would have worked really well. They did end the series at least with Marion Crane showing up. You know, Norman did kill his mother, you know, in that last, spoiler alert, sorry, bit of the show. And Marion Crane was played by Rihanna, and that got a lot of interest at the time as well. But yeah, that's the Bates TV series. Not bad at all. Although it did introduce, you know, like Brother and things like that. Other stuff that was just tweaked a little bit, but they had to introduce more characters into the series for it to kind of work. And it did. So I hope you like that show. Okay, so this is the most non-Norman Bates universe of Norman Bates. But because I included Halloween 3 in my Michael Myers universe, where Michael Myers was fictional character on a TV screen, I'm including the 2012 movie Hitchcock as the 8th variant universe for Norman Bates, and I'm calling it the Hopkins verse. Anthony Hopkins plays Alfred Hitchcock, and Scarlett Johansson plays Marion Crane, and James D'Arcy plays Anthony Perkins. And the Hitchcock movie is a biography of Alfred Hitchcock during the time that he was making the Psycho movie. So since there is reference of Norman, Anthony Perkins, the Psycho movie itself is involved in the Hitchcock movie, that I did include it because similarly to Halloween 3, even though Michael Myers wasn't a part of that film, he's mentioned, he's shown on a screen, so he got credit as a fictional character. So it's a universe in which Norman Bates was fictional, which is what I'm doing with this universe, the Hopkins verse, which is the 8th and final Multiverse, Hitchcock 2012. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you agree, or you would have included or not included anything in this breakdown of the variants of Norman. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And next month will be, I believe, Herman Munster, the Multiverse of Herman.
I would like to thank all the little people who work so hard to make this picture a success. I would like to thank them, but I really can't because I did it all myself.